Here we go. Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Love and Business.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Y'all can see, obviously, I'm not with my amazing husband today, but he's with me here on the live. Hello,
Absolutely.
Mr. Robinson.
Hello, Mrs. Robinson. It is good to see you.
Yes, hadn't seen each other in a couple days here. Look, before we get off into business, I need all of y'all to do us a favor as you do every Thursday night. I need you to hashtag live and let us know where you're joining us from. And right after that, I need you to hit the share button. And while
Yep.
you're doing that, I figured I'd let you know what we're doing here and why we're here. This is Love and Business. It is a community in which we cultivate personal and professional development for entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs through key concepts and strategies that help to create and develop businesses so that they can build wealth and dominate in life, love, and business. So, yes, a special episode. Oh my goodness, we got Columbia, South Carolina in the house. We got Las
Okay.
Vegas. We
All
got
right.
the DMV. Okay, all right. I see y'all pouring in here tonight. I need y'all to hit that share button for me so we can let our friends and our family get in here tonight for another episode of Love and Business. And tonight's episode actually is going to be brought to you by Lemoyne Robinson. He had a topic that he wanted to discuss tonight, and so we're gonna dive into it shortly. But I figured I'd wait till we got on the live to let him know that we are safe from the pregnancy scare that took place there.
Yeah.
Listen, your girl went to the doctor today and it was pregnant people everywhere. I got scared. Did you hear me? I was scared for absolutely no reason, but it gave me the I'm talking about I had the bubble gut sitting up in that lobby. Do you hear me? Like, man, why is there so many people here pregnant? And don't sit by me. Like, go
Not at
sit,
all. Yeah.
sit over there. Cause I don't want none of that. Whoo wee.
Just
I'm not playing, man. I text my friend Robbie. I said, man, look. I don't know if this stuff contagious or not, but I'm about to start Googling because I need to make sure that we don't get caught in
no.
this number.
Hey,
My
no,
Lord. I was
don't
nervous
need
for
none of
us.
that. They gonna
Yeah,
be
I was nervous for absolutely no reason. I really was. And then the doctor had the nerve to tell me, well, I went to the back and the lady just took me straight to the room. And I was like, ma'am, usually, we stop at the bathroom because I need to pee in the cup. And she was like, no. I said, "What did you mean, no?" I said, "The proper procedure when you come here for your annual, right?" She said, no." I said, "No, ma'am. I'm gonna need the cup. We gonna need to make sure that whatever's out in that lobby ain't jump on
that.
me because
Hey,
I don't want none of that." I'm happy to report to our live listening audience that the Robinsons are safe
yeah. We
from
go. We go.
the
We gonna be
pregnancy that is everywhere out
part
there.
of your four, and that. Yeah. We gonna be a
Lamorne
part of
always
four.
say we don't want to be outnumbered. I'm good with being equal. Okay, we got two kids and we got two adults.
That's
That's
it.
all we need.
That's it.
My Lord.
That part of life ain't the same. You outnumbered.
Oh man, when it's 3-2, oh man, and the way
Yeah.
these grandparents out here in the streets
Yeah.
acting these days, they not normal. They not the same parents that raised
No.
us. So we definitely don't want to. You see, that's exactly why I was scared. It could be twins. That's why the
Yeah.
shop is closed. Okay. Crystal said it ain't that bad. Crystal, I listen. I don't want to find out.
I don't. I
I
don't. You
don't.
got
I'm
three
I'm
three kids
happy.
over there.
Yeah, she got three kids. No, two and through. All right.
I'm
Amen to that. So we just wanted to start off with some good news
yeah.
tonight. We're elated that did not jump on me in that lobby today. Yes, the shop is closed.
Ain't nothing
Amen.
on you but
But
sin.
we are open for business over here at Love and Business. Amen, church. Well, I'm gonna go ahead
Yeah.
and tell you, Lamont, your kids is watching downstairs in the in the living
Good.
room on YouTube Live. So say hello to your girls. They haven't
Hey,
seen you in a
pretty
couple days.
girls. How y'all doing? I hope y'all had a wonderful day.
Absolutely. All right. I know y'all did what I told y'all to do. I told y'all to hit the share button. If you hadn't, please go ahead and be obedient before the Lord and hit the share button for us. And make sure you hashtag live if you're watching us live and replay if you're watching the replay. So, Lemoyne, I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump off into today's topic so that the people can hear what it is that is on your heart.
Well, hey, so I just really I've been thinking, and like this last week, it's really been on me. Do you guys think, and this is just, a thought, this is open for conversation, but I want to share something with you. How much validation are we really is healthy and what's unhealthy, right? So I think about decisions that we make, or as a kid, I guess it was a scenario where I didn't necessarily think I was looking for validation, because it didn't come in the form of what I was really, what I defined it as. But as an adult, I can look back and see as a kid some things that I did for validation. And if I'm being honest, when I started to look at it like that, I could see some scenarios where grown men have died for the V word, right? Validation, right? What is it that, my friends are looking at me to do, or what is it that uh somebody's encouraging me to do or influencing me to do that's not necessarily healthy, right? Because they're looking for validation. But then I was just thinking a little bit further, um, like, man, you know, why do people look for validation so much? And it dawned on me, like, man, I try to validate my kids. We try to tell them to, they get validated by making good grades in school. When
Mhm.
as they transition to, college and things like that, they get other little awards and accolades that validates them, right? That says, hey, you're going on the right track. And then you get on a job, you look for validation, right? We look for bonuses or look for the little placard. You ever wonder why somebody, you've been working for a company 10, 20, 30 years, and they give you a placard that's worth probably $7, but it's the validation
That
of it that
mhm.
that brings you more joy, right? And I always wonder, like, man, like, what's the deal? But it's the validation, right? But we can see it even in church. We want to be, most people want to be validated by the pastor or something like that. Oh yeah, I talked to pastor, he said I was doing this or doing that. And it doesn't become any different when it comes to business, right? When
Mhm.
we look for different validation and ideas and things like that we want to do. But then on the flip side of it, will be somebody will be concerned, because they're like, man, why are you looking for validation, when in fact we've trained ourselves to always want to be validated.
That's
You know
true.
what I mean? It's been from the onset, from grade school, from just raising your kids on up, right? So I mean, you guys can tell me, put in the chat if you guys feel like, validation is important. I believe that it is important, but how much is too much validation, right? How much can be a hindrance? Because see, that's kind of where we start the trend at, right? Because you can have, our pastor talk about this week, what is your worth to God, so to speak. I don't know
Mhm.
if that was the exact title, but
I was like, God knows your worth or something
yeah,
like
God
that.
knows your worth, right?
Mhm.
So it was like, hey, if God knows your worth, and I know we say this all the time, and then you have an idea, why is it that we will allow someone to, um, to give them the power to validate us or not, right? So
Mhm.
even if they may not snatch the idea away and say that's stupid, but if they don't just gung ho and say, hey, yeah, no, that's a brilliant idea, why is it that we shy away from it, right? So the thing is, once I'm thinking to myself, like, you should be validated in your spirit by knowing that, that this idea is going to put you in a position to do something that is of the kingdom mindset, right? That's
Mhm.
a God-given purpose, or that's going to be something that's going to enhance everybody around you, enhance their lives, one way or another. But a lot of times we'll sleep on those things because we're looking for validation of some sort. And the truth be told, it's not found. The only thing that we need to be able to do when we get an idea is find a strategy that can help us implement the idea, but not necessarily look for validation. And I think that that's a difference. However, I do believe that there is some power in getting people to, you know, understand the vision, but not necessarily looking for validation for the entire vision. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Please chime.
Yeah, I mean, you gave us a mouthful there, but I think it's it's a lot to break apart in it. Validation is, I think, something that starts at birth, right? Like as soon as we're born, we're then, as a parent, I know, we started. speaking certain things to our kids. And so from an early age, I think it becomes, okay, well, I want to make this person proud, because that's just innate in us, to want to be
Yeah.
validated by other people that are close to us, or that means something to us. And so as we grow throughout life, I think we're still looking for that same thing, but sometimes for the wrong reasons, right?
Right.
Like I don't think externally that it's always healthy to look for validation, you know what I'm saying? Like outside of ourselves. That's probably sometimes it could be a hindrance, especially in business, right? If I'm looking for all of my friends to say that this new business idea that I've just gathered is a good idea, if I'm waiting on all of my close circle to say that, then it's very likely that I'm not going to start, right? If they have
Right.
something to say about it.
Right.
When my true thought on that is, if God gave me an idea, I'm going to move on it because he gave me the idea, not because I was waiting on my three closest friends or my three closest family members to validate that it was a good idea,
Right.
right? And I think that's when it becomes unhealthy, when we're looking at other people to give us the go ahead on something that God had already created us to do.
Right.
That becomes a little dangerous when we're looking for people that don't have the plan or the provision for us, to give us the a-okay to say this is a good thing to do, right?
Right. And here's what I really think the crux is, or one of the biggest drawbacks is, because we're looking for that validation to some capacity. The other side of that is we are already trying to overcome self-talk.
Hmm.
So when somebody says something that speaks to the self-talk that's already in our head, like, I don't know if that's gonna work. So if you already got a little bit of doubt, then they are just putting it onto it, and because it's familiar, you latch onto it,
Hmm.
like, with ease, right? So it's almost like, if you're pulling a boulder uphill, right?
Hmm.
It takes a lot of work to strain and pull and get that boulder uphill, but one slip, like one little missed grip, now it can go
Be
back
tumbling
downhill.
down.
It could go back downhill quickly, right? And that's the downside to looking for validation as well, right? Because if you're overcoming self-doubt or self-talk, already, if you go to someone and they validate your already irrational thinking, or or that self-doubt that's already in your head, even if it's just a little bit, and then they say something, and next thing you know, that thing, you know what, you right, and
Well, I
and
think that comes from not having a firm foundation in, who you are, right? Or
that,
what you're setting out to do. So it's almost like if I come up with an idea, if I need somebody else to tell me that it's okay for me to move forward in that idea, then I'm gonna say that I'm having some issues with some self-worth, right? I'm having some issues, some internal issues that I need to work out, instead of thinking that, case in point, if I have an idea and I tell it to you and you don't necessarily agree with it, it doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. It
yeah,
may mean that you don't have a full understanding of what it is. It could may mean that you're not interested. It could mean that you don't have enough information to even give me good insight, right? But I
right,
think that what happens is we go to people that we're closest to, right, instead of the experts, right? Because if and when I'm seeking out, information, or if I'm seeking out, when we're talking about specifically business here, when I'm seeking out advice, I'm not going to, people that I would consider, like on the same playing field, right? I'm going to level up, right?
yeah,
And I'm not looking at that person to validate what it is, that I'm doing or why I'm doing it. I'm
yeah,
going to that person, for expert opinion, for wisdom, right? For good guidance and advice. But at the same time, again, like I just said, I'm not looking for another person to tell me that what God told me to do in this particular business venture is okay to do, right? I
but
think that we got to move on what he told us to do.
yeah, now you said something, and I don't want to just breeze by that. But you said, basically, if you have that self doubt, or you have that, that need for that type of validation in that
Mhm.
way, that is something. Maybe it's an inside job, right? It's
Mhm.
something internal that is causing you to, want to do that. Is that, you don't believe in yourself enough? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
What do you feel like one of the root causes of that is?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I think sometimes we may have issues with self-worth, right? It
Yeah.
could have something to do with, how we were raised, right? What was that environment? Were we getting enough, I don't want to say validation, but were we getting enough affirmation, right?
Okay.
We
Okay.
needed
That's
people to,
different.
you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
affirm us. That's cool, right? But we don't need anybody to validate the fact that we're enough, right?
So
Like we can't
validation.
get that from anybody else. But to
Yeah.
to to affirm a person, right, that could build up their confidence. It can help them to, not have self-worth issues down the road.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just my personal opinion. I don't necessarily need affirmation that way, but I'm not wired that way. Whereas
So
there are some
affirmation
people.
over validation.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I think like the way your personality type is, like I know that you're looking at me for affirmation, right? Not
Yeah.
necessarily validation, but I know that, that's your love language, right? Like I need to affirm you. So if you did something, I need to say that it was great. I need to say I appreciate it. I need to at least say thank you, you know what I'm saying, for you to know, oh, okay, this was good, right? Whereas for
Hmm.
me, I could do 1,000 things and I'm okay if nobody ever says thank you, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily wired that way. But I think that it's important to note, if we are, so that we can be transparent with the people that are in our circle, so we can let them know, hey, well, I kind of do appreciate a little affirmation every now and then. I'm saying that the bigger issue comes is when we displace that and say, well, I'm looking to be validated. Those are two
Yeah.
totally different things.
Yeah. And that translates directly over to the business world, right? To love and business, right? It translates over to both of them. That's
Hmm.
a direct reflection uh, of that. If you're feeling like, hey, I need to be validated, you can have a phenomenal. I've had phenomenal business ideas, and in some instances, like, no, I ain't gonna do it because if somebody else would have already done that, if it was a good
Hmm.
idea, or something like that, and that's discrediting. In my opinion, I'm disgracing God. You know what I mean? As my mind has continued to change, I'm like, if God gave you the idea and then you kind of sit on it, or you turn your nose up at it, like, nah, that's stupid. Because if somebody else would have did that already, but that's not necessarily, that's not true. That's just thinking.
And I think that that's the statement that you just made is actually, because a lot of people might be wondering, why did we even choose that particular topic? And that statement is a leeway into why. So a lot of times we have discussions with people, especially as it relates to being in business, or starting new in business, and a lot of times why they're stagnant or why they won't start, or why they keep going in circles of nothingness, is because they're waiting on someone to tell them that this is a grand idea. If I were you, I would do it. I've never seen anything like this before. Like, right,
Yeah.
they're waiting on somebody else to check a box. And really and truly, that's just not how the business world works, right? Like, to be honest, we didn't get a lot of validation in the beginning stages, you know what I'm saying, of
No.
our journey.
No.
If anything, we got a lot of caution, right? And I get that. I totally understand it, because hey, at the end of the day, I know that our parents wanted the best for us, right? Our friends, our family, everybody, they wanted the best for us. But we knew, right? We had a yearning desire to be entrepreneurs, where really and truly the makeup of what we had already put together, right? We were two at the time still successful, but just in corporate America, right? You
Yeah.
had just gotten another promotion with Chase. And then I was basically getting $10,000 raises every year with the government. It
Yeah.
seemed a bit far fetched for us to move away from where we were in what we would call good jobs, right, with
Yeah.
good benefits, that were super stable at that time. It seemed a bit foolish for us to move away into something that didn't look as certain, right?
Right.
Because we were then going to have to
Right.
build from nothingness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so in that phase, I think, a lot of people may be there, right? Where you're kind of on the edge of like, I want to do a thing, but you got noise that's around you that may not necessarily be in support of that, or you're waiting on somebody to show up and say, I support you in this. And
Right.
this journey of entrepreneurship, at least to this degree, it doesn't necessarily look that way.
And I mean, and the truth be told, most of the people that you're asking or that we asked that was in our circle, they can only advise you to the level which they've experienced, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I can remember my grandmother when I changed jobs. She said, "When I look, you just you you done change job 3 times now. Ain't nobody gonna want to keep
Why
on
you
hiring.
gotta change your voice like that?
You
What you
but
say?
hey,
You said, "Now
like,
look now."
yeah, now look, now, and then she now look, now there you go, Pete. You got to get somewhere and stay. And,
Get
but
somewhere and sit down
that,
somewhere.
that was her thing. She worked for the health department from 1985, uh, 1985 to 2010, I believe. Or something,
Absolutely.
right? That was her deal, and but that's to the level of what she know. Whereas it's like, yeah, grandma in corporate America, like I gotta keep transitioning, right, until I
Yeah.
can do what I, do something else. But that's to the level of her understanding, right?
Yeah. And I
That's the
think that that's a key point there is that a lot of times we're looking for validation from people that don't even have the level of expertise or experience to even, if that was a thing, right? If the
yeah,
if we were looking to get validation from somewhere, if you just had to have it, I wouldn't get it from somewhere, or from
right.
someone that had never done what you're trying to do.
And
That's a
and
definite no.
right, and that leads me to another thought, like, because we will um counter cross validation and love. Like, if
Mm.
somebody don't validate me, then they don't love me. You know what
And
I'm
it's
saying?
not the same.
And it's not the same, right? And that's why a lot of time we probably go to people like our mama or our grandma or loved one, just a friend, somebody that we consider to be, you know, close, and be like, oh yeah, they gonna tell me. And because you want to be validated, you want to be right, you want that somebody else to amen, and I second that motion. You know what I mean? You want somebody else to say, hey, yeah, that's a good idea, or yeah, you should do that. You know what I'm saying? um and most of the time, the people that we surround ourselves with or have in the past, just growing up, they do that. Why? Because it's a softer landing. They may
Mhm.
not necessarily, tell you, which is why community is so important. You know what I mean? In the beginning, we talked about, or Crystal said, we're building a community, and that is a big part of what it is that we're doing, because we want to make sure that everybody that's around us, that we're able um, to be iron for them, and not
Mhm.
necessarily a yes man or a hype man, or just a automatic validation, and then next thing you know, you going down the rabbit hole, because it made you feel good that they said so.
Yeah, and I just think that it's important that we start to analyze how much other people's thoughts or opinions are shifting us or stagnating us,
Yeah,
right? You know,
is it
that's
shifting
why
or
I said
stagnating?
before that it's more important that we look internally and make sure that some of our wires aren't twisted as it relates to that. Because again, in our story, had we been waiting on validation from the people that were closest to us, or the people that loved us the most, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about love and business. And that's no knock, it's just what I'm saying, it's the truth. It was just, hey, we want to make sure that you guys are okay. We want to make sure that you're not doing anything that's going to be to your detriment. We support you, but we think this would be better if you stay where you were.
Right.
Because I mean, ideally, obviously, we're in our 30s, and so our parents and grandparents grew up in a world where you really did keep the same job for 20, 30, maybe even 40
Yeah.
years, just to, like, hey, at the end of this time frame, I'm gonna retire and do X, Y, and Z. Like, that's what the thought frame was, or the thought process was of that. And our generation is just not
It's
necessarily
just
wired that way, and we don't even have the ability to even have the same benefits, so to speak,
yeah.
that our parents did at that particular time. But I'm just saying that there are going to be some leaps. There's going to be some uncomfortable spaces. There's going to be some fearful times, right? Some scary things or whatever that you would have to progress through. But the idea here is that we shouldn't be looking to get the a-okay or the right away from somebody that would have never done it in the first place, right?
Right. And
Like,
that's
that's just not the route to take on as it relates to business anyway.
right. And you said something that I don't want to just breeze past it, but like you said, it's gonna be some bumps. And what
Hmm.
typically happens is, if we get past, the validation piece, we actually move to start, get started, and then
Hmm.
things don't go right. You know
Oh,
what I
because
mean?
it's several times where things didn't go right on our behalf. I didn't know if we
Exactly.
was
Things don't go right, and you know that one thing you like. Oh man, you know such and such said that I shouldn't have done this or whatever. Then you
yeah,
go to feed that again, right? But that's not necessarily. That doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But we give that so much power. And again, I'm as a parent, I'm thinking, man, you know, should I, you know, like you said, that's why I said affirmation over validation, because I'm like,
yeah.
man, I'm validating something, you know, I'm validating my daughters or whatnot, but it should be more affirmation. You can
Mm-hmm,
do this. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like you have the potential, the power to do it, right? I'm
mm-hmm.
affirming you in that regard. Uses strong, uses smart. What they said on the movie?
Oh, you
Yeah,
talking about on the is it the
the
help?
help.
I don't know what the
Yeah, I think
movie
it's the
was.
help, but
Yeah, I think that, for us it is important that, we affirm our kids. And I mean, I think the reason why we do it is because we love them. We want them to know, that we
yeah.
love them and we care for them. But I don't think that our intention is to have them to think, down the road from now that they need that in order to, keep
Yeah,
pressing forward. And I think sometimes that's the thing that kind of happens is, especially if you're conditioned to be affirmed, right? Like you score 100 on a test, then everybody's praising you, right?
yeah,
And then you pass from one grade to the next, everybody's praising you, right? You get a good job or whatever, everybody's clapping for you, and they're super excited. Or you graduate from high school and everybody's pushing you forward to go to college type deal thing. But when you're doing something that is new, different, and out of the box, you're looking for that same thing, and you might not necessarily get that, right? Because
yeah,
especially if you're taking a path of which most people aren't. Like it's gonna be difficult to get hand claps for that,
yeah,
because most people are gonna be speaking to you from their experiences, whether they're even if they mean you well, it could be a time, or some information of which it won't help you to progress, but it could help you to pull back, because their experiences are not ones of which what you're trying to go forward into. Which is why I say you need to more so lean into your faith on that piece versus other people. That's
yeah,
what's more important, is that I'm not looking for another human to say a thing. But like I say all the time, when I see that people are looking for somebody else to say, hey, is this a good idea? Is this or that? I see that, fear is speaking to them, right? They're looking for, stuff other than the actions that they should be able to take. And in those cases, I always tell people, look, you have an information gap, right? That's what's really happening. And when you're forcefully looking for validation in a certain area, you are missing information,
yeah,
right? You can close an information gap and not be looking left or right for nobody's validation. And I think that that's where our dynamic helped us a whole lot, right?
yeah,
Is that even when we were in arenas where it was super new, we had no clue what we were doing. I mean, from day one, we talked about the dog show. We've already went over that. I mean, we've sold t-shirts, we've done network marketing, and when we got to the State Farm stage, I mean, we didn't know a lot still,
yeah. Nah,
right? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, we didn't know a whole bunch of nothing. You know
mm-mm.
what I'm saying? But at the same time, we had read, I think maybe at the time you might have read 2 books, what I'm saying, about
Yeah,
the agency, whatever they put you through in the training,
and the
you
training,
know.
yeah,
And the only ones I had read on insurance was the ones that got me my insurance license. But but we wasn't waiting on nobody to tell us that we could do this. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like we were just filling information gaps,
Well,
right? So we were doing the things we knew to do to at least start to be successful in business.
yeah, and I mean, we saw some other people that were successful, right? Which I think is important, but I think on the other side of that, I think some people will see someone that's successful and then they say I can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Because it seems so far fetched, right?
yeah, it seems like it's so
Which
far.
is why I think that's like the whole reason for us doing this whole love and business podcast to even begin with, was to try to, normalize, right? Actually doing the work. And so that we could transparently share a lot of the situations that we have conquered along the way, and not just look at ourselves right now. Like everybody's gonna want to say, well, you guys can do it because X. Well, that's really that's not the case, right?
Right.
Like we can do it because we keep closing information gaps, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's like I didn't ask anybody, was it okay if we did the U-Haul deal, right? I didn't ask anybody's opinion. None of that. I filled information gaps. It was put on my table. I read the flyer or whatever, the brochure, whatever they put on there. I called the representative, right? I walked through some questions with the representative. I looked at the application to see, does it make sense, right? I looked at our business financials. I looked at the way that our current business was set up, right? I started putting together the pieces. I didn't need anybody to come to me and say, it's okay if you do that.
Right.
Didn't
But
ask
you,
nobody's permission. Me and you talked about it.
right, but you've had some at bats. You know what I'm saying? We've had a lot of at bats. You know what I mean?
That worked and didn't
Safely.
work.
But it's like you said, it's just, for the new person, it's like, man, like buying your first piece of real estate. When we bought our first house, we had our uncle come through, your aunt's husband, we asking everybody questions, you know what I mean? But not necessarily knowing that, man, I don't know if they really know.
Nope.
You know what I mean? I don't know if they really know, because my folks only bought like one house that that I
Yep.
know of.
And my
So
parents
it's
still
like,
had their same first
yeah.
house.
So it's like
Yep.
like what does this, what does that look like? So you're right, that information gap builds, when you start feeling that, it builds a little bit more courage. And then even if you are hearing the naysayers, you got more on the other side, because you got some information that they may not be aware of, right? Or that
And
they're
when you
not
get the
talking.
information, believe the information instead of the
Yeah.
folks that you know. A lot of
Hey,
times we'll get the information, and then because the information seems so foreign from what we've been taught or been told, we go back then to get the
exactly.
validation from the people that ain't got the information, and then we take their word. It
And
doesn't make sense, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're speaking from their experience, not from information that they've gathered. We'll go and get information out. They say, "Well, I don't know nothing about that." Well, it I'm just saying that it's more important that once you do the research, once you have filled the information gap, that you trust the research, right? And then don't be afraid to press forward in that, even if it doesn't work out. Like, for us, I know that every experience that we've had, whether good or bad, we have learned something
we've
in the
learned something.
process. And those learns now help us to expedite, forward progress a whole lot faster, because
Yep.
now we're applying lessons learned, not necessarily all wins, right? In some of these situations, we're able to move faster now because we've had so many learns in the past that now they've stacked up, right, into forward progress. And most folks don't even want to take an opportunity to move forward just to see, right, what happens. They're still waiting on somebody to come and pat them on the back and say it's okay to move forward.
Right.
And it just doesn't work that way.
Right, absolutely. No, and back to your other point, I say documentation beat conversation any day.
Every time.
Right? If I can show you documentation that supports my thoughts and logic on it, and the only thing you got is conversation, then yeah, I'm gonna believe the documentation over the
I'm definitely not going to the barbershop looking, you know what I'm saying, to figure out if they can give me some information on it. And
Absolutely.
we sitting in circles, and that's what I'm saying. Like, let's just make it easy, right? If we're looking for validation in places, and if I got, four people sitting, next to me in all corners, I'm looking north, south, east, and west. If none of those directions are showing, or those people in those directions have done anything close to what it is that I'm trying to do, I am not about to open my mouth and ask for any type of advice or, quote unquote validation in that moment, right?
Right.
I'm gonna be in there, be quiet, and be still. But I'm not asking no questions. Case in point, man. I was at a conference yesterday, women's leadership conference yesterday. And Polar baby, bless her heart. You know when they say bless her heart, you know what that, bless her heart. And as a lady, we was in this networking session. The panel is full of, it was about 4 or 5 middle-aged white women.
Mm-hmm.
And this Polar baby, she stand up and she say, "I just wanted to see, what's your advice on mind you, she's a 20-something young Black female, right?"
Okay.
She says, "I want to know your advice on working in an environment where you're the youngest and only Black female in the room."
Okay.
I said, "Let us bow our heads and pray, please." Because little baby done asked the whole panel of middle-aged white women that ain't had now an experience of
Ain't
being a
got
20-something-year-old Black female, what to do when you in the room and it's only you that look like you.
real talk.
Ma'am, they don't know, ma'am.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
will never know. I don't care. I don't care what they do. They can get 20 tans if they want.
It
They will
just
never be the only black
it's
woman in the room.
no,
It's not
be that
happening.
way.
But when I thought about that in the instance, that is exactly what we do
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go and look for validation, right? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? We go and asking the wrong people to help
Oh,
us out.
yeah.
So
And
what was crazy is that one of the ladies that was at the table with us, she said when we was eating when we was eating lunch, she said, I had to go up to that little baby after the visit and answer her question for her because them women wasn't gonna help her
yeah,
with the
them,
answer. The lady's response on the panel was, "Well, I was in an environment one time where everybody was speaking French." I think that's how she answered it, ma'am. Somebody turn her mic off. Just turn
I
it
know.
off, ma'am. You speaking French? What that got to do with being the only black young female in the room? Nothing. They speak a
Right.
whole other language, lady. I don't know, but
But
I'm
do you
just
do you
I
think she was genuinely asking, or do you think she wanted to be like just seen in the room? Like, do you think she just
I turned off afterwards. Maybe I don't know. Kitty's on here. Maybe she can come in what she thought, but I just said to myself, bless her heart, because
yeah, just bless
there is
her.
no way I would have formulated that
Yeah.
question to a panel of what I'm saying, all middle-aged white ladies, even though they had great experience as it relates to networking.
Right.
That was their arena, right? Of it was,
Yeah.
but it was broad. But you got to look at the situation and say, well, would I ask Pookie at the barbershop, right, how to run a multi-million-dollar business? Unless
Yeah.
Pookie running a multi-million-dollar business in the back, it's what I'm saying. It's not likely if he only cutting 2 heads a day.
That's it.
You
And
know what I'm saying? Like it's not happening.
absolutely. That reminds me of the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a story in there where the guy gives his product to the bricklayer, or the guy that makes bricks. He gives some jewelry to him to take to the neighboring city to sell at the market. And
Mm,
when he comes back, he only has a portion of the money that he feels like he should have been owed. And
mhm.
but the moral of the story is you don't send the bricklayer or the masonry guy with your jewelry to the market. You know what I'm saying?
You
Like
don't.
he has no expertise in that. They both, concrete or rocks or whatever, precious metals or whatever it may be. But he doesn't have an expert. He doesn't have expertise in that. So
Yeah.
your expectation to get something from somebody that doesn't have a expert or subject matter expert in that field, right? He's not a jeweler. So
Yeah.
he's not gonna sell your stuff for market value, or he doesn't understand the value of it. So when you start bringing your ideas to somebody that's never opened a business, that doesn't understand the market at all, but then you give their opinion the weight of the world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
The weight of your whole being is tied to what they are about to say next. If they agree or disagree when they've never done anything to begin with, that's a bad situation.
Yeah. And I just think that those two examples that we just gave, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do every day. Right. And it's mindset. It
Yeah,
really is. You know what I'm saying? Like you have got to get in the right mindset. You got to start training your mind to receive new and different information and act on it. And a lot of times,
yeah,
we're or we're weighing so heavily on other people's thoughts and opinions. And that was never supposed to be the case for us, right? Like we really are, created to create, right?
yeah.
And I think that it's super important that we realize that we have the ability to do new things, that we can do new things, right?
Absolutely.
And that we don't need validation from other people to do that,
And,
right? But you
and
can gather information.
absolutely. And look, I think we've all been there. I know I have. If you listen, if you have know you had a good idea and you asked the wrong person, put a one in the chat. I know I have, and more than one time, more than two, more than three. I'm
Mhm.
almost certain, that I have. And when you do that, like legit, are you giving away your God idea?
Yeah,
Are you just throwing it to the wind saying it's not worth anything?
yeah,
Because somebody else, said that it wasn't. But if the idea or thought came to you, then can you be um real enough with yourself or believe enough in yourself to say, okay, this was a real thought that I had.
yeah. And
This
that doesn't, obviously that doesn't make us bad people, right? Because we've missed out on, opportunities because we was waiting on, people to the left or right of us to, push us forward. It just means that there's more work to be done,
Yeah.
right? And once we recognize that, that's when we should make a shift. That's when we should make a change in our thought processes in order to get us to where it is that we, where we want to go. Which, you know, for me, again, I think that I've been okay, right, with just making these leaps. Like I'm like that, like Jay Simmons says, like I'm that person that will literally leap off of a cliff
Yeah.
and pull pieces together as I'm falling, to either catch me or help me fly,
Yeah.
right? And I know that everybody isn't necessarily wired that way, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't move at all, right? Like for me, I process information fast, so I'm gonna get the information, but as soon as I get it, I'm gonna leap off of that cliff as fast as I can with the first piece of information.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to you, if you're that person that has to gather 30 pieces of information, I would suggest to you that at least after you gather all 30 of those, take one of them and say, I'm going to execute this, right? I'm going
Right.
to do this today.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out, what next step it is that I need to take to get there, instead of waiting on somebody else to come along and say, well, you've done a great job with gathering. Now
Right. Right.
you're free to move forward. That's just
Yeah.
not how life works. Nobody's gonna do that for you. And you gotta sometimes I think it's more important that we do close out the noise, right? That we aren't looking for other people to say something, right?
Yeah.
Get quiet with the information. Ask God what is the next step, what it is, what I'm saying, that He wants you to do and why, and then move on that, right? It's super important that we're not looking external for the validation to do that. And if nothing else,
That's
we're
key.
trying to literally show you that we've had previous experiences where, look, we didn't have it all figured out. I'm telling you, we opened up a whole State Farm agency on a hope, wing, and a prayer. I was 9 months pregnant, quit my job. We 9 months pregnant with our second daughter, right? That's why I was scared of all them pregnant women in the,
All,
in
only
the
thing we knew was
lobby
we
today.
saved enough money
We had saved
for
enough
you to
money to
be
make
off
it for a
work
couple
for
months,
yeah, for six,
six months.
six, no, for you to be off an additional, because
Oh
we needed
yeah,
the insurance. We still needed that
we needed
insurance
the
to,
insurance.
yeah,
Yes,
to have that baby, because we
yes.
ain't wanna ain't let the government pay for that one.
Yeah, we were smart enough to do that. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you got just think about the things that to do. Like, for instance, we was leaping out there on big faith, right? Again, we both had left really good paying jobs to then walk into entrepreneurship with a $0 check on our names the day we quit. Right? We had no idea what was going to take place after that. I was 9 months pregnant, and we had Kirsten on. In August,
August,
and
yep,
we opened the State Farm agency on October 1st,
yep,
2015. So I was literally 4.5 weeks postpartum, and I was in there October 1st, day one, with my headset on and a breast pump on, right?
yep,
But we made a decision, right, that this is what we were gonna do. And what that looked like beforehand was Lemoyne going to a whole lot of training. I started reading a whole bunch of books on entrepreneurship. I started studying for my insurance license, and I took the test, right? Like, these are little bitty steps that we took, and we wasn't looking for anybody else to say it was okay. What you got?
right.
I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, you said something that I think is powerful, right? October 1st, you was in the office with a breast pump on. Most
Mhm.
people would have found and I don't know what in our psyche do it, but we'll find a excuse. We'll find a reason. That would have been somebody like my mama probably would have been like, hey, you don't need to do that now. Just go ahead and just stick with that job you got, because you don't know what this is like. You have to build this business. So
Yeah.
now you don't know, what that looked like.
Well, we
Right.
were legitimately told both of y'all don't
Right.
need to just jump out there. One of
Exactly.
y'all keep a
Exactly.
job and the other one go, But I just knew that
You
I
gotta be
knew.
just having a baby. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and just
That's
having a baby. It was
right.
wild, I will
It was
say, but I knew, you know what I'm saying? Like I knew without a shadow of a doubt
right.
that
You could see it.
yes, that's what we were supposed to be doing. And when you have that level of knowing, you can't let anybody else talk you out of that, right? And thankfully, you know what I'm saying, we press forward on that knowing, and people are benefiting from that, right? And I don't want people to take it lightly that you have an idea and you got like this super strong feeling that you should be moving forward on it. It's this business that's been in your heart for who knows how long, and you sitting on it. First of all, God gonna find somebody else to do if you don't move. Second of all, you missing out, right, on so much growth and opportunity, not just the income that, could potentially come from it, but you're missing out on who you were really legitimately created to be when you just
Right.
decide that you're going to stay in your own thoughts or that you're going to wait on somebody else to tell you what to do. The crystal in the morning that's sitting right here on Love and Business right now, I'm talking about, we grown now, but the ones that leaped off of that cliff, we
Yeah.
was some children. Do you hear me? Children.
That didn't know. I mean, real talk, and
And
did it.
not in age, but just in
Yeah.
mindset.
Did it afraid. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
legitimately afraid. I was scared out of my mind. I was scared for Crystal to quit her job. You know, I just knew it made her unhappy to be there though.
Yeah.
Right. And as a husband, I knew it that her being in a safe, healthy space in her mind was should have been a priority for me. So
Yeah.
it was on me to now try to figure this thing. I'm just glad that she's a go-getter all on her own, right? And she
Man,
wasn't going to
I
this
listen. We
let
wasn't about to lose, bro. That's all I'm saying. Like, you put me on the team, that's it. We winning. We winning the game. That's all I'm saying. And that's the type of mindset that you have to have if you're gonna leap out here,
right.
off of this cliff. Like, you got to know that you're gonna win, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the first thing that you stick your hands on that is gonna be wildly successful. You just got to know that, hey, without a shadow of a doubt, if you don't quit, you gonna win.
Exactly.
And that's kind of, that's the mindset that we've set into, is that it don't matter what we do, right? I was sitting having a conversation today, and they said, man, it don't matter what you and Lamorne do. It's going to always be successful. I didn't even say that, but that's my innate feeling. Like, that's my life. Like, I don't care what we do, right? It's going to be successful. That's
Yeah.
just, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it's going to be. And for other people to feel that on us, oh man, now we in this thing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
In the beginning stages, we had to build belief for that. And that's where I know a lot of people are right now, where they're trying to build a belief for that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if you don't leap, if you don't jump, if you don't do it, there's no way you're gonna have a belief system like that 5 minutes from now. It's
Right.
not happening.
And here's the thing. Once you start doing it, those very same people that you went to go ask advice for, some of the very same people that we asked questions about purchasing our first house or doing our first business venture, now they ask us like a ton of questions, because
Yeah.
I know for sure that they don't know, but now they know that we know. You know what I'm saying? now they
But
know
we
that
had to figure that piece out. You know what I'm saying? I'm
exactly.
like, and sometimes I think it's better if you go find it out,
You
right?
have
Now don't get me wrong. I do think that there's a cheat code, right? There is a cheat code in having coaches, that
it is
can,
the code
get
in
you to a
community.
place. But
Absolutely.
I also think that it's super important that you're building in such a way that you're gathering knowledge and information on your own as well, so that you're not so dependent, upon other people to get to a place, right? Like, we
Yeah.
built enough muscle on our own to say, oh, okay. And then we get to this point where, oh, hold on a minute now. I'm trying to get somewhere, but I feel like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, feel like I can't really push through right here. And then, oh, let me go and get this another expert level opinion or expert coach to come in and then help to facilitate some of this growth, right? But I think it's super important that in the grassroots stage, that you just got your head down, man, and you got your head in a book or in a podcast like Love and Business,
Yeah.
or, you know what I'm saying, you're surrounding yourself around people that are new and different from what noise it is that you've been hearing for so long that's keeping you in the same place. Sometimes the circles, you know what I'm saying, got to change for you to be able to even want to do something different or better,
Yep.
to that degree.
Yep, no, 100%. And I can't tell you how many times we've left, let's say Louisiana, and then we go somewhere
All
else
the time.
to be around. But then you see some other people that you didn't even know would have been interested, but they did the same thing, right? They
Mhm.
left, and went to, let's say, another conference that you made. You be like, oh, you in New Orleans, you in Slaughter Hill? Okay, yeah, I'm in Slaughter Hill.
Right. Yeah,
But
we've met a lot of people from
yeah,
Louisiana in places. I mean, we in Atlanta, we somewhere in Texas or DC, wherever. And we like, man, you stay like 20 minutes away. Like, but I
exactly.
think it's that sometimes, you know what I'm saying? You got to get away, in order to at least change your atmosphere temporarily so that you can grow and develop.
Right.
And a lot of times we're still looking for what we need in our core, group of people that we know, and it just don't work like that. I mean, now most of our closest friends, we got to jump on a plane to go and
And
see them.
exactly, exactly. And I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Because those are the individuals that I know can help foster and help bring a vision to life versus
Mhm.
me looking for validation and then they kill it. In those circles that it starts to change because you're thinking like, hey, now I'm talking about how I can execute it. I'm not asking you if you think it's a good idea. I may ask, what do you think the best form of execution is to get this done? I ain't
Yeah.
asking you, is it a good idea? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
come on,
I
man.
ain't
We
asking
not
that.
even there no more. And I think we obviously in the past we have been there, right?
I,
Where we've asked for information or advice. And I think as soon as whoever we asked opened their mouth, we knew we had asked the wrong person. And that's what you got to be okay with, right? Like once you get just continue through with the conversation. Just know, don't ask them no more.
right.
Like,
And the
let
truth
me
is,
go on to the
it's some
next.
people, it's some people that's gonna answer you knowing that they have no credibility in that phase of the game.
They answer
They gonna
should
answer
be back.
you.
I don't know.
Listen, they gonna answer you because they feel like you respect them enough to ask them. So they're going to answer you knowing that they ain't got zero experience in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then, but you will take that and give it more weight than you doing some research on your own.
Yep.
You will take that and give it more weight than the community that you may be a part of that's helping to helping you to see these opportunities, right? Because now you're tweaking your mind and you're seeing these opportunities and are you opening yourself up and God is giving them to you because they're saying, hey, look, now this is a seed that you can plant in the earth realm that can be, this is your kingdom that you can be a part of, right? This is what he gave you to rule and reign. This business idea, this business venture, this is your kingdom. This is your contribution to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And now you asking somebody else.
I was thinking about a like this odd example, right? Like um you wouldn't think that, like, so it's an instance that took place here. I know the guy here locally that owns the Baskin Robbins franchise, right? Actually, he my mom actually used to work for him when she was younger, growing up. I think that was like her first job working at Baskin Robbins in Natchez. And so I'm talking to him one day, and it's in the wintertime, right? And so I asked, like, how is business, right? Now I say this example because of this. A lot of times we may assume a thing, right? And because we are not well versed, right, in a particular area, and we're asking the wrong people, right? I asked the guy that actually owned the franchise, like, how is business this time of year? And he said, believe it or not, I sell more ice cream in the wintertime than I do in the summertime.
Wow.
And it blew me away, right? Because I was like, for real? Because I'm thinking to myself, when it's hot outside, right? You would think that more people, he was like, oh
Okay.
no, we actually do quite well in the winter months. But you might roll up on somebody and ask them, here it is, you in Alaska, and you want to know, should I open up a Baskin Robbins franchise? Right? But you wouldn't know that more people are actually more apt to eat ice cream when it's cold. Right?
Yeah.
It seems odd, but we go and get information from places, that don't really have the right answers for us. Case in point, that same example. Here it is. I'm really thinking like, surely I'm probably one of few that's coming in here getting ice cream right now, but he's like, no, like we really do. We are busy this time of year. And that's why we're constantly saying, go get the information, right? So if I wanted to open a Baskin Robbins franchise, I'd be talking to a Baskin Robbins franchise owner, right? To get
Right.
the information from them, to gather the steps and try to figure out, okay, is this something that I can do? What areas does it work well, work best in, those types of things. But we'll go and ask the person that do our hair or nails, should I open an ice cream franchise?
And let me tell you what they gonna say. They gonna tell you what somebody else had to say about it. You follow me? Oh, I do such and such hair, and her husband did it, and he told me, he told her, and she was saying that this what that because it ain't no different in the
It's
barbershop.
8 people removed.
It's 8 people removed, right? And you can't say grapefruit smoothie between 3 people, and then and it still get communicated the same,
I'm just saying, man. But I mean, it seems weird, but that's exactly how, that's how it looks, right? When we're going to the wrong places trying to gather information.
Right?
And, if nothing else, I hope that Lamorne and I prove to you through, just some of our examples that it really isn't, about, necessarily getting it right the first time, but it is about going and gathering the information and then applying whatever steps it is that's necessary to move from step number 1 to step number 2 to step number
Yeah,
3, right? We're really trying to normalize taking action. Right?
that's it.
That's what we're trying to do. Oh, I think that's a good segue here. To take messy action.
Yeah.
So here's a commercial break. I am actually doing a master class. So for some of you that may or may not know, I'm a part of something called Soul Shift Inner Circle, and we have what we call the biggest hustler challenge happening right now. And so I'm actually I was anyway the captain of Team Dominate. Our coach Sean Strickland decided that she would switch the coaches for the next 2 weeks, and so I'm actually the coach of Team Hustle Gang for the next 2 weeks. But prior to that, I was Team Dominate all the way, obviously Dominate with Crystal. But
Yep.
I challenged the ladies that's on my new team this week to make $1,000. I said, look, let's just go ahead and get this done. Everybody in the group, we're gonna make at least $1,000 each, right? It's 30 some odd women in there. So the goal and objective is for us to hit $30,000 this week. I think it can happen. And so I said I couldn't challenge them, right, without challenging myself, right? And I also participate every time I create a new offering during this time. I'm donating all the profits to the winner of the biggest hustle challenge. So I believe my team just dropped in here the link for the Take Messy Action masterclass that I have. I believe it's on May the 3rd from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's a virtual class. I am teaching, okay, this is an amazing class. I
Yeah.
am teaching you how Lamorne and I, on a consistent basis, take messy action, right? That eventually leads to mastery. And you might think it's weird, but it has happened time and time and time again to the point where I know this is a thing, right? We don't have
Yeah.
to know everything to get started, right? We don't have to know everything to make profits. True, even
Right.
with the dog show, we didn't know a whole lot and we made
No.
$20,000 in a day. So I don't really see why, you know what I'm saying? More people can't take messy action that way and see the results that they want to see, right? So I'm helping people get unstuck. I'm helping people get out of their own way. But you got to sign up for the Take Messy Action masterclass. And
Absolutely.
now here's the twist, right? It's $197. That's $197. And look, all of the profits from that is going to the winners of the biggest hustle challenge. However, the price for that class is going up to $297 after Sunday. Why? Because you need to take action. That's why I'm teaching you in real time how to take action. If you do not pay for this class this week, don't come to me next week in my inbox. Don't send me no emails, no text messages, or no bird signals. It is $197 this week. After this week is going up to $297. I think
Yep.
Lamorne and I have broken down enough for you on this podcast or this episode, telling you how we've taken messy action over time. And now here we are. I don't even know what business we're on. At this point, we've done a lot.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it has literally happened through messy action. But I'm going to show you how to go from messy to mastery in this 2-hour masterclass on May the 3rd.
Right. And messy doesn't mean stuff is all over the place and unorganized. It just means that we're committed to taking action, even though we still know that there's some things we got to learn, that we still have to figure out. Right. It's still
it just means we ain't got it all. We ain't got it all together. You know what I'm saying? It ain't all the flyers ain't pretty and cute, right? Everything ain't all the way together, but we moving. And I think that's a part or that's a problem for most people is they waiting on everything to be pretty and perfect before they get started.
Exactly.
And I'll say it a dozen times over, perfect will never get you paid. I can guarantee
Yeah.
you that. I've seen a lot of perfection out here that's sitting on stuck.
And that's almost like having a beautiful wedding and a horrible marriage.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Hey, work on the marriage, the thing that matters, and then you can, the wedding is just a day, a moment, a few hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't put all your energy into trying to get everything together. Like, let's act, take messy action, get it done, and move forward. Because the deal is, it's going to cost you something one way or another. Now,
Yeah.
what you value, you may value the currency that goes in the earth realm, like money,
Mhm.
right? But you're not giving enough value to that idea that God placed into you, or that purpose that He placed into you, and then you'll stay stagnant because you're not giving the weight to the right thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I hope y'all benefited from tonight's episode. I hope that you leave here today not needing validation from the left or right, not waiting on somebody to give you the A-OK to press forward in what it is that you already know to do.
Right.
We hope that you just move forward on your own. And I'm gonna tell you this. If you can't figure that out, join the master class. I'm gonna help you.
That,
I'm gonna make you go forward. I'm not gonna pull you, but I will push you. I will. I will not pull you along the journey, but I will definitely push you into your destiny. And there's a lot of people that have heard this training. If you were at Live Your Dreams Live, you got a snippet of it. But I'm going 2 hours fully in this time. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. If you got some issues with being stuck, you need to be in this class. I'm gonna tell you that. And I'm looking forward to giving away all this money to the winner of the biggest hustle challenge. So y'all need to sign up so I can make sure I got a nice bag
yeah,
to pass along to one of these amazing ladies that's going to win this challenge. But I really do hope that, if you were listening tonight, or if you're listening to the replay, I really hope that you take heed to what we say, and that you're not placing too much weight on other people's words. Right? The only word that should matter to us is God's word. The only thing that should matter to us is what He told us to do, and the vision that He's given us. And so, with that, I don't think, do I have any other announcements? Shout out to the Creative Meal for helping us with the
yeah. Make sure.
podcast. We appreciate that. I think there's a lot of beautiful things that's coming from this collective in the future. So I'm looking forward to it. Y'all keep your eyes and ears open for Franchise Your Way to Millions. It is still coming soon. We are still working on some pieces and parts for that, but I'm telling you right now, y'all are gonna want to
Yeah,
stay locked in to
this
what
is gonna
we
be
are
changed. This,
doing.
this community is gonna change not only the lives of the people that are in it participating, but the lives of people that surround us. They will know, like, this is going to be a normal thing. Like, this is
Yeah.
a normal thing to have people that are like-minded coming together and establishing wealth untold
Oh,
in ways that can be passed from generation to generation, because it's not only physical, but it's a mindset as well.
absolutely. So I say stay plugged in if you want to grow, if you want to learn, if you want to be better, do better, and have more. Just stay plugged in with us. We appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in every week. If you didn't know, we're always live on Facebook and YouTube. You can catch us there. We're also on all podcast platforms now. So go out there and find us. We're even on YouTube podcast. I'm out here working my work. I'm talking about working it. So thank y'all again for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. Um, we will see you next week.
Yep, yep. Thank y'all.